Right, my name is Rachel Lloyd, and this is going to actually be my third try at this because I keep going way over time. So I'm going to try to shorten things a little bit here. I'm outside, as you can see. This is kind of my creative component. I'm just walking around outside because I really like nature and all. And I really like where I live. It's like nice and foresty, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Let's start with the assessments. My first assessment was use of social media. I got a 19, which is above the average, which is a little weird considering I don't really use social media actively. I guess I use it passively. I just kind of like scroll through things. Honestly, it's a big time waster, but it's not something that I post a lot or anything. So I was a little surprised my score was so high. The next one was intercultural communication. Let's see, it's metacognitive cultural intelligence was 20, cognitive cultural intelligence 16, motivational cultural intelligence 16 again, and then behavioral cultural intelligence 33. I'm not really surprised that these were higher scores just because, I'm learning Russian, so I'm, committed to learning another language, and with that language comes a different culture. And I think that if I didn't already have a decent amount of intercultural communication, I probably wouldn't be pursuing this language and these career paths. And my career paths being I'd like to work on the international stage some way, somewhere, somehow with the Russian language and English language. We'll see where it takes me. Let's see, method of conflict resolution was my third one. And I'm just going to go over the top and lowest scores. My highest score was competition for 20. And then my lowest scores were avoidance and accommodation, both tied for 13. It's not really surprising just because, I'm a competitive person. I like to win. So it made sense to me that with conflicts, that, it overflows, that aspect of me overflows into conflict. And the fact that I'd rather win even if it means the other person loses, that could probably be a good thing sometimes, but a bad thing in others. I think it depends on the situation. The other two, the lower ones, avoidance and accommodation, those involve my side losing or both sides losing. I don't avoid conflict personally. I'm a confrontational person. My friends all know that about me. And then with accommodation, I'm not one who really wants to just give up and give in. Unless it's absolutely necessary, or I just don't really care about the issue at hand. Let's see, and I'm talking fast and it's making me lose my breath, but this is my third take and I keep taking way too much time. Emotional intelligence, my scores were all slightly below average except for stress management, and that's not surprising to me just because I am a worrywart who is also a perfectionist and a procrastinator, so obviously I create a lot of issues for myself there, just by making things harder for myself. So it made sense to me that stress management was a higher one. I think I'm interpreting that score correctly. And then my last assessment was nonverbal immediacy. 53 above average, and I do have a tendency to talk with my hands and stuff. I don't know if you really are able to see it because this is kind of close to my face, but yeah, I kind of do that a little bit. All right, so let's go on to the major themes that we need to cover. I chose intercultural communication, nonverbal communication, language, communication in close relationships, and managing conflict, all because these themes are important to my life for reasons I've kind of just briefly gone over, or at least I did in the other takes of this. Let's see. Intercultural communication, you want to be appropriate and you want to be effective. And so building your competence with other cultures definitely helps on that. You want to try to, avoid the cultural barriers where possible. And that's just best done by, being empathetic, tolerant, taking the initiative to learn, that sort of thing. Nonverbal communication, it's a lot more important than I had realized in the past. Definitely, and I'm going to sit down. Definitely something that I use a lot, and I've noticed a lot of other people use too. Anything from kinesics, proxemics, paralanguage, haptics. I try to integrate it myself into my life and communication just because it's really helps drive a message home. when people are more easily able to relate to you due to those nonverbal cues. Language important to communication. Obviously, it's what facilitates a lot of messages for people. I think it's probably nonverbal communication makes up most of it, but language itself is mucho important. The names we give to people can change our perceptions about them and about the perceptions they have for themselves. Two people speaking the same language in a foreign country can connect better through, a language. Communication, close relationships can be platonic, familial, or romantic. My family, for example, strives to get win-win solutions and a lot of confirming messages, and even when there's negative feedback, there's a lot of positive feedback that comes with that too. It's important to, grow and strengthen bonds that you have with your family, your friends, and your romantic partners. And then the last theme, managing conflict, kind of went over that. I'm competitive. I like to win. But conflict is natural and unavoidable. No life is perfect. There are characteristics, that you find in conflict, perception of discordant goals, struggle, scarce resources, interdependence, and inevitability. And once you recognize those issues, you're able to better work through the problems that come. All right, so 6 ideas. I feel like I've kind of touched on all of my ideas through the stuff I've said already, and this is just, it's taking too long. I have so much to say. Developing intercultural communication and competence. Obviously, I want to work on the international stage with Russian, so I need to be able to communicate effectively with other cultures, perception of others. That kind of ties into the cultural thing. Don't make snap judgments. I won't do that as frequently anymore. Try to understand people better. Usage and understanding of nonverbal communication. Hands, the way you dress and present yourself, the way you speak and hold yourself, how close or how far you kind of like stand near somebody. Using those, I use them already. I'll continue to do so in the future. Listening style was another part. I'm going to be a better listener. I will stop cutting in, giving advice when it's not yet asked for, and I will try harder to empathize and analyze so that I can get a closer understanding of what the speaker is conveying. And then how I manage conflict. I realize now conflict is not a game. Communication is not a game. I don't have to win all the time. It's okay to compromise. It's okay to be a bit on, the losing end, where appropriate and where it still is overall, I feel, beneficial, as long as it doesn't harm me myself. And I'm a minute over, so I apologize for that. I don't know if you'll get to the end of my video, but I will stop it here. I think I've hit on, the primary things that I need to. Thank you so much for the class. I've really appreciated it. I realized that this is probably the first time I've looked actually into the video recorder camera. But thank you for the class and thank you for watching. This is me. All right.